So we have our forces set up, we have our chairs placed, and we have the rigid bodies working, but we need to make sure we have our collisions and the settings correct on the rigid bodies. So as I mentioned before, it uses a convex hull, so therefore you often have to make your collision objects, if it's not just a flat plane or a box or a sphere, you need to make it out of a series of planes. So if it's got any concave areas, any holes, any dips, then you need to make it out of a series of planes like I have here. And I have my collision group, which is a group, we can drag it in, and you can see this group is made out of all these pieces, all these individual collision objects we talked about earlier. When you have your group, you can just hook it in to the collision geometry, and now when you hit play, it's actually going to be colliding with the surface. So they're not going to go through the ground anymore. If you do notice problems, you may want to move your collision group up a bit or down a bit. You want to be careful that it's not intersecting with your object at the beginning, because then it can actually cause everything to kind of jump in an unpredictable way. So just be aware of that. Just to give you an example, if I pick my collision group and I move it up slightly and I hit play, everything would start by kind of jumping up a bit and reacting differently. So just be aware that you want to be sure that your collisions and your objects don't intersect at the beginning or before your simulation starts, because it can cause unpredictable results. But here's pretty much the final effect. We're just going to shaded, and I'm also going to turn on some display options here. So I turn on my camera, the bottom display, and the headlight, just to get slightly nicer results here, so we can spin around and see this effect and how it's working. So we can really see that we've got, nice interaction between the particles. Just going to zoom out a bit here. We're going to go full screen. We can just turn off the ice tree here and see this full screen. And let me just rewind and play once more. Now, the particles aren't there at the beginning. It would be nice if they were actually there initially, so we didn't have to go ahead and see them flash in at the beginning of our sequence. And of course we could just say we'll just render it from frame 1, but there's a few things you can do to avoid that happening. So we can see here, now we're going to lose this chair over the edge, and that's because our force may be a little high. We can decrease the force or increase the gravity to control exactly what we have going on here. So you can also move this around a bit. If I move this back a bit, based on the fall off of the point, it would actually have less impact and probably wouldn't send things flying quite as high as before. But you can have some fun results with this anyway.